Johann Mickl was an Austrian-born Generalleutnant and division commander in the German army during World War II, and was one of only 882 recipients of the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross with Oak Leaves. He was commissioned shortly before the outbreak of World War I, and served with Austro-Hungarian forces on the Eastern and Italian fronts as company commander in the Imperial-Royal mountain troops. During World War I he was decorated several times for bravery and leadership, and was wounded on several occasions, finishing the war as an Oberleutnant. Immediately after the war, Mikl served in the Volkswehr militia, which was formed to resist the incorporation of his hometown of Radkersburg into the newly created Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes. He served with the Austrian army from 1920 until the Anschluss in 1938, when it was absorbed by the Wehrmacht, and he transferred to the German army as an Oberleutnant. He commanded an anti-tank battalion during the invasion of Poland and Battle of France, during which he was awarded the Iron Cross second and first class, and was promoted to Oberst. Through the intervention of a friend, the adjutant of Generalleutnant Johann Rommel, under whose command he had served in France, Mikl was transferred to North Africa to command a rifle regiment. He was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross for his leadership of the Kampfgruppe during the Battle of Sidi Rezek, during which he and 800 of his soldiers were captured by New Zealand troops. 2 days later he precipitated a successful mass escape from a prisoner of war collection point. He briefly commanded the 90th Light Division Africa in late 1941 before being wounded. After he recovered he was sent to the Eastern Front. Mikl commanded the 12th Rifle Brigade of the 12th Panzer Division in the East, taking over the 25th Panzer Grenadier Regiment when his brigade headquarters was disestablished. Transferred to the Further Reserve, he was promoted to General Major, and received the Oak Leaves to his Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross for his outstanding commitment and leadership during the Soviet 1942–43 winter offensives around Rzhev. He then commanded the 11th Panzer Division during the Battle of Kursk. Later in 1943, he was appointed to train and command the 392nd Infantry Division, and led it in fighting against the Yugoslav partisans before dying of wounds inflicted in the last month of the war. In 1967, the Austrian Bundesheer barracks in Bad Radkersburg were named after him. Early life and career. Mikl was born Johann Mickl in Zelting, Radkersburg, which was part of the Duchy of Styria within the Austro-Hungarian Empire. His father Matthias was a German farmer from Turbogosen, and his mother Maria was from Zelting, and of at least partially Slovene heritage. Mikl had a twin brother Alois, who was killed in action in 1915 in Galicia near Lemberg, present-day Lviv in the Ukraine. As a child, Mikl spoke German, Slovene and Hungarian, and remained fluent in all three throughout his life. After entering a cadet school in Vienna in the Imperial-Royal Landwehr in 1908, he was accepted at the Theresian Military Academy in Wiener Neustadt in 1911. Described as slim, muscular, and 1.92 meters tall, Lieutenant Mikl graduated on 1 August 1914 and was posted to the recently mobilized 4th Imperial-Royal Landwehr Infantry Regiment, which formed part of the Imperial-Royal Mountain Troops. World War I. Galicia LIR-4 was a purely Carinthian regiment, and wore the mountain cap and the Edelweiss badge. As part of the 22nd Rifle Division of the 3rd Corps, Mikl's regiment trained for the Eastern Front, were offloaded in Strij in Galicia and marched into the area of Zluchau to take up a position on the Zlota Lipa River. Its baptism of fire was an attack on the Russians on the 26th of August 1914, during which it received inadequate artillery support and suffered heavy casualties. One of those wounded was Mikl, who was shot in the chest. He spent time in a military hospital and was then employed in the Regimental Replacement Battalion as an instructor until the 15th of April 1915. Nothing is known about Mikl's activities during that period, although LIR-4 was involved in heavy fighting in Galicia throughout the winter, in temperatures that dropped below -20°C. On the 1st of June 1915, LIR-4 received orders to be transferred to the Southern Front, as Italy had entered the war against the Central Powers the previous month. This order was countermanded the following morning when the Russians launched an offensive in the Kolomea region and the Austrians suffered serious reverses. LIR-4 was immediately committed to the battle. The army commander, General Air Cavalry Karl von Flans of Bolton, later stated that it was the courage of LIR-4 that had stopped the Russians. Mikl had led from the front during the fighting, especially when his company formed the regimental rearguard during the withdrawal from the Pruth River on the 3rd of June. At one point, Mikl used parts of a damaged train to build a defensive position. He was wounded several times during the fighting, but remained with his soldiers. For his actions and demonstrated personal bravery, Mikl was awarded the Military Merit Cross 3rd Class with War Decoration. Italian Front. By late September 1915, LIR-4 had been transferred to the Flich Valley in the Julian Alps on the Southern Front, and Mikl had been promoted to Oberleutnant and placed in command of the 2nd Company. A fairly quiet winter followed, during which the Austrians undertook reconnaissance of Italian positions, took prisoners, and captured weapons. In August 1915, Italian Alpini troops had captured an advanced position about 1 kilometer southwest of the 2,208 meters Rhombong-Ipfels Peak, on a rocky outcrop called Kutlahoe. For this position the Italians overlooked the positions of the 44th Rifle Division and its rear areas, which made movement almost impossible. The group commander, Oberst Arthur von Schuschnigg, tasked Mikl and his company to capture the Kutlahoe, and allowed him to determine the best way to complete his mission. Between the 30th of January and the 8th of February 1916, Mikl and Heinrich Schlatt reconnoitred the Italian position each night. It dominated the ground around it, and was protected by barbed wire entanglements. On the 8th of February, they located a narrow channel that they considered could be used to approach the Kutlahoe without exposing the assault force to Italian fire. Mikl's plan involved a silent attack by his company using the channel, foregoing artillery preparation, as this would warn the Italians of the impending assault. After a few days' delay caused by heavy snowfalls, the attack commenced at 2:45 on the 12th of February. During the approach march to the foot of the Kutlahoe, some men disappeared up to the neck in snow due to the many snow-filled depressions and the depth of the snow. This meant that the march to the bottom of the channel took 2 hours instead of the 30 minutes Mikl had estimated. When they reached the bottom of the channel, they had to climb a 3 meters high smooth ice wall to enter the gutter, which even highly experienced climbers were unable to scale. Around 6 o'clock, the whole company had assembled at the bottom of the channel. The dawn was beginning to break, threatening to expose the assembled force to flanking Italian positions. Schlatt then came forward carrying the trunk of an alpenrose, a shrub that grows just above the tree line in the Alps. He used the trunk to reach the channel edge, and the troops were able to enter the gutter with his help. The troops could now see the glow of the candles in the Italian position. The assault took the Italians completely by surprise, and 3 officers and 84 soldiers surrendered, for the loss of 4 dead, including 1 officer, and 4 wounded. The Italian response was to concentrate all available artillery fire on the position. The dugout was exposed to direct Italian fire, and was therefore unusable. The Austrians were in an exposed position in deep snow and with extremely cold winds at an altitude of 1,700 meters, and during the first day Mikl's company lost 20 dead and 60 seriously wounded. On the night of the 15th of February, the Italians commenced 2 days of unsuccessful counterattacks, some carried out in 4 or 5 consecutive waves. For several weeks starting on the 17th of February, Benito Mussolini, then a member of the Italian 11th Bersaglieri Regiment, was on the front line near the Cucklerhoe, and described some of his experiences in his diary. On the 5th of March, prior to the withdrawal of his company from the Cucklerhoe, Mikl was wounded in the face by an Italian hand grenade. When his company was relieved on the Cucklerhoe on the 12th of April, it had shrunk to just 44 men. For his leadership of the assault on the Cucklerhoe, Mikl was awarded the Order of the Iron Crown 3rd class. On the 10th of May, the Cucklerhoe was retaken by the Italians from 3 companies of Bosnian-Herzegovinian infantry, who lost 250 men. The assault force, consisting of 4 battalions of the Italian 24th Infantry Division, lost 18 officers and 516 men. In April 1916, Mikl's regiment was deployed to South Tyrol to take part in the Austrian Spring Offensive, during which he was awarded the Bronze Military Merit Medal on the ribbon of the Bravery Medal with War Decoration, for leading a successful attack on an Italian position on Monte Senguio. At the end of June, his regiment was transported back to Galicia by rail to reinforce the Austro-Hungarian forces being hard-pressed by the Russian Brusilov offensive. In July, Mikl's regiment was used as a fire brigade within the army group, and helped prevent the penetration of the Russian offensive through the Jablonica Pass. Their task completed, Mikl's regiment was promptly transferred back to fight the Italians on the southern front. Mikl's regiment arrived on the Isonzo front on the 20th of August, and remained there until late autumn 1917, fighting in the 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th battles of the Isonzo. During the 8th Battle of the Isonzo on the 10th of October 1916, Mikl was wounded once again and was hospitalized. When he recovered, he was assigned to the Regimental Replacement Battalion until spring 1917. For 3 months during the summer of 1917, Mikl was employed as an instructor at the 7th Corps Reserve Officers' School, preparing young officers for service at the front. In January 1917, he was awarded the Silver Military Merit Medal on the ribbon of the Bravery Medal with War Decoration. In August 1917, Mikl was appointed to command a machine gun company, and served in the Battle of Caporetto and the subsequent advance to the Piave River. On the 12th of November 1917, Mikl's regiment was the first to establish a bridgehead over the Piave at Zenson-di-Piave, and he was instrumental in rallying the troops of his regiment when they came under heavy fire as they landed on the Italian side of river. For his leadership at this crucial stage of the river crossing, he was awarded a bat to his Silver Military Merit Medal. On the 15th of May 1918, Mikl began a preparatory course for future attendance at the War College in Vienna, and when the war ended he was posted to the 54th Rifle Division in Galicia. Between the wars, before the war, nationalism had been largely absent in officers of the Austro-Hungarian army, but this changed during the war, and by the end of the war, the propaganda of the Entente had combined with wider aspirations to encourage nationalist sentiment. In some cases, this resulted in mutiny among units of the Austro-Hungarian army in the last months of the war. The states that would succeed Austria-Hungary were approved by the Allies on the 28th of October 1918. and the dual monarchy of Austria-Hungary was dissolved 3 days later. Many new nation-states emerged in the territory formerly belonging to the realm, as nationalist movements called for greater autonomy and full independence. The Duchy of Styria was divided between the new states of German Austria and the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes, but the exact line of the new border was unclear. In November 1918, Mikl had returned to his hometown of Radkersburg, an important railway junction point, which was of economic importance to both sides. The Slovenes occupied the city on 1 December 1918. In 1919, Mikl served as adjutant in the 1st Battalion of the Volkswehr militia, which used arms provided by the provincial government of Carinthia to make an unsuccessful attempt to recapture Radkersburg from forces of the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes to ensure it remained part of German Austria. The provincial government of Styria, which had not supported these actions, subsequently issued a warrant ordering Mikl's arrest for treason. Despite his failure, his actions were very important in demonstrating to those negotiating the final border that towns along the northern bank of the Mura River were German. When the Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye was signed later in 1919, Radkersburg was retained within what became the First Austrian Republic. In 1920, Mikl was accepted by the new Austrian army, joining the 11th Alpenjäger Regiment. During 1920-21 he was rapidly promoted to Hauptmann, and on 20 October 1920 he was posted to the 5th Cyclist Battalion in Villach, Carinthia. In 1921 his battalion was deployed to Burgenland to assist in the transfer of that region from Hungary to Austria. In 1922 he changed his name to the more Germanized Mikl, according to his biographers Richter and Kobe. At this time the Austrian police wanted to speak to Mikl regarding alleged arms trafficking offenses, and his decision to change his name may have related to the police inquiries. On the 2nd of May 1922, Mikl married Ellen Zischka in Klagenfurt. Their only child, Manfred, was born in 1923. That same year, he was promoted to the rank of major, having worked on the frontier with Italy, trained border guards and proving an accomplished mountaineer. In 1925, Mikl passed the examinations for the General Staff. On 26 July 1930, Mikl was appointed an honorary citizen of the town of Radkersburg. During 15 years with the 5th Cyclist Battalion, Mikl had attended ski courses and mountain leadership courses, and had also developed an interest in automotive technology. In 1934, he briefly served on the military headquarters for Carinthia in Klagenfurt. In February of the following year, he was placed on the General Staff Officer list, and posted to the headquarters of the 3rd Brigade at St. Pölten. His promotion to Oberleutnant followed in 1936. In the same year, Mikl's son Manfred entered the military cadet school at ENNs. On 14 March 1938, following the Anschluss, Mikl was absorbed at his rank into the German army, but as a troop officer, not a general staff officer. From 12 May to mid-August 1938, he attended training at the Panzertruppenschule II in Wunsdorf south of Berlin, before being given command of the 42nd Panzerjäger Battalion of the 2nd Light Division. Ellen soon moved to Gera in Thuringia to join Mikl, leaving the 15-year-old Manfred at the cadet school until his graduation.